Hey, what's going on? What's hip hop happening tonight? My favorite part's coming up. Just gonna jam. Bye. Hey, what's up, Zoe? Hello, hello. And it went like woo! Da 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 da. Hey, Ira, what's up? What's up? I rockin' a bucket hat too. Yes. Notice it's a Braap Babes bucket hat. I'll be putting it on the site so soon. Oh my gosh, welcome so much to Throttle Talk Tuesday, and I'm your host, Angelisa. What is hip hop happening? What's going on? How is everyone doing on this beautiful Tuesday? Tuesday, right? On Tuesdays, we interview influential women athletes that are making an impact for other women in the snowmobile and dirt bike community. And before we dive into it, tonight's live chat is brought to you by Braap. So contact Jessie P, and her Instagram is at Petite Pois. I will be tagging it at the end of this when I turn it into an Instagram TV, it's IGTV. It is so hot. Hey, Ira. Oh my gosh, it's so hot in here too. It's getting hot in here. That's what I should have started this this live with. Next one. Okay, so Petite Pois, she can design any wrap for all of your toys. It could be snowmobiles, dirt bikes, jet skis, sea-doos, you name it. When you look good, you feel good. Woo! So tonight I am interviewing Chrisma Wortley. Oh my gosh, also known as Endura X Ma. I'm sure that stands for something. Endura Chrisma, I bet. We'll ask her. So just a reminder that if you guys have any questions or any comments that you want to ask Chrisma, you're more than welcome. We will be trying to get to them during the interview. If not, we will be getting to them at the end. And it's time. It's time to bring Chrisma up, so just bear with me. What's going on? What's going on?
Hey!
Hi. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
That's
Are
good.
you staying cool?
Trying to. It has been incredibly hot this past week, and especially on the weekend, trying to ride, it was almost like impossible. It was just too crazy hot, getting sticky. How about you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So hot. So
Yeah.
hot in here.
Yeah. It's been a little sticky.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I didn't ride on the weekend, but I mean, I was hoping to ride this weekend. I heard it's supposed to be 36 here in Whistler, Pemberton, so we'll see how it goes.
Yes. I know. Yeah,
Right?
I think it might be a nice weekend to just lay by the lake or a river or something and just enjoy the summer.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get into it. By the way, before we dive into it, you have a beautiful name. I'm sure you
Oh,
get
thank
this a
you.
lot.
It's a little
Chris,
unique. Yeah.
yeah, Chrisma. Am I pronouncing it right?
Chrisma, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And congratulations on your sick edit with Astra.
Thank you so
I
much. It
know.
was
I know. I was gonna say it came out like a month ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, but it was such a cool edit.
yes, thank you. It was so much fun filming with Yurley. He's a blast out on the trail, and he's so creative and just, it was just so much fun. Like it just felt like I was just riding, and it didn't feel like a camera was there half the time. I mean, it was exhausting in moments, but definitely a lot of fun. So, and it turned
Yes.
out really well. Yeah.
Yes, I want to say it was it made me laugh. It was refreshing, like
Okay.
you see a lot of videos that come out and they're all great, but it was just, there was just it was comical. Like, we could all relate and have fun
Yeah,
with
and
it, right?
and that's kind of what we were going for. It's just something different because, I mean, a lot of the edits these days, it's, it seems really serious. And I don't know, we kind of wanted to poke a little bit of fun at ourselves too. Because, I mean, we do have little crashes and things. So that's, it's all part of the fun.
Absolutely. Oh, well,
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it. Have you filmed for something like that before?
No, I mean, I did a previous feature with Astra before, but that was the only, like, this was the only real big feature that I've done. So I was really proud
Okay.
of it.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. And did you have to like I know with filming sometimes it's like, okay, can you redo that? Was there a lot
Yes.
of like back and forth? Oh, can you go faster? Can you go slower? That sort of thing. Was there a lot of that?
Definitely had moments. I mean, yeah, like you said, there sometimes the camera's not in the right place, or you're not zooming in on the right place, or you're going a little bit too quick for that section. And there were definitely some days where we did have to film a lot of back and forth. But of course, it was a lot of fun for me just, hitting the trail, especially the clear cut stuff, because that's really fun, fast, flowy trails. In the techie stuff, it was definitely exhausting, and there were moments. I had a couple of crashes while we were filming, and that was probably the most exhausting part. And Sean Watson, bless him, he was there, and a couple of times he actually had to help me just turn my bike around in the trail, just because it was such a tight area and there's so much rocks and roots that it was exhausting. And it's full days, like you're not just going for a few hours. Like that whole edit we filmed for 3 full solid days.
Wow.
So to get 4 or 5 minutes worth of edit. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Exhausting for sure. And I
Yeah.
just want to say, yeah, I appreciate art like that because I know it's hard work being the
Yes.
videographer, but also the athlete, right? So yes, you guys did awesome.
Yeah, and especially with Yorley too, he's running around in like full moto gear. Like it was pretty hot. Like we had a pretty nice run of sunny days. So he was actually like running up and down the trail in certain sections with like full boots on, like full moto gear, just hot and sweaty. So yeah, it was awesome. So much
Yeah,
determination.
for sure, for sure. Well, it was worth
Yeah.
it, I'm sure.
Yes.
Cool. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I did a little bit of research. I'm kind of a creep that way.
That's
um,
okay.
I believe that you're from South Africa. Is this correct?
I am, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I was born and raised there, and my family immigrated to Australia when I was 13 years old. So we all moved over there, and I finished high school. And when I turned 18, I decided to come traveling and came to Canada and just kind of never left.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
Cool.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you have any family in or near you, or they're all still overseas?
All still scattered. So my eldest brother, he actually lives in Japan. My youngest brother still lives in Australia with my parents, and then I have some extended family there as well, and South Africa. So we're kind of all scattered all across the
Okay.
globe.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Who's joining us with who's with you? Your puppy.
I have my puppy Grizzly here. He's still very active at this age, so he might make a quick appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So he's
cute.
still a big baby,
Grizzly.
of course.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like a little grizzly bear. So
Aw. How old?
yeah, he's about 4 months now. So he's very adventurous and likes to just get in everybody's business. So he will kind of just move back and forth a bit.
That's A-okay. Love
Yeah.
pups. Cool. Okay. So give us a little bit of a background story. Who are you and where are you currently living?
So currently I am living in Langley, BC. It's close to McNutt, so I'm not sure if some of you guys are aware of the area. Langley is really close to Vancouver. I've been living in Vancouver now for about 10 years. I started off in North Vancouver working at Grouse Mountain as a lifty, as every, I think, Aussie or foreigner kind of does when they first come here. And so, yeah, I mean, I grew up on a farm, so I've also always kind of been a little bit of a tomboy. And yeah, I love camping, love being outdoorsy, hiking, doing all that fun stuff. So yeah, it's always been a big part of my life, and that's kind of how I got into dirt biking a little bit as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of a traveler. Like I mean, not that I've really traveled much since I've been here, but yeah, I mean, it's I just kind of fly by the seam of my pants. Like if there's, something fun or an opportunity that comes up, I try to make myself available for it, try to go, and have a little bit of fun. But yeah, I mean, I'm living here now, working full time as an operations manager for a company called Pazzo Racing. I've been with them for about 3 years now, and absolutely love it. I love my job, and I mean it's in the motorcycle industry as well. So we do make levers for motorcycles, for street motorcycles. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of background, I guess. It's not really
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
No, that was perfect. Do you
Very
do
simple.
a bit of street riding? Do you do a bit of that?
I do, yes. I have a Honda CB 650R that I just purchased a few months ago, and I've been on and off the street for about 4 or 5 years now. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah, it's my second love.
I was gonna say, so you're on bikes all the time, basically.
I try to, yeah. So mountain bike, street bike, and dirt bike. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. And that, I believe that was one of our, it was, somebody had a question, JB, asking what you do for work.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. So yeah, operations manager. I kind of wear a few hats. I do a little bit of everything, shipping, sales, service, like receiving, customer service, taking care of our inventory, and overseeing the shop and like all our day-to-day operations. And yeah, so it's full-time Monday to Friday.
Sweet. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so next we're gonna go to our next question. Did you just get into dirt biking, I guess, when you moved to Canada?
Yes. So
Okay.
I mean, despite growing up on a farm, like, I mean, I was always kind of exposed to, quads and, ATVs and stuff like that, side by sides. But I never really got the opportunity to ride dirt bikes. And yeah, so starting in Canada about 6 years ago, just camping with a couple of friends, they brought some dirt bikes along. And of course, I had to try it because, I wanted to be a part of the fun. And I just fell in love with it. Like there was something to it that just drew me to it. And so, yeah, I started riding about 6 years ago just for fun, logging roads, no gear, like just literally wearing Carhartts with work boots and a t-shirt and a helmet. And that's kind of where it started.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's like the best intro into dirt biking, right? Like, you don't have the gear, you don't have the proper gear, and you just like go for it.
Exactly. And especially on a big bike too, like riding, it was a TTR 225. Like I know they're not too tall, but of course they're really, really heavy bikes. And, it just feels really awkward for, I'm 5'4", so it's, it just felt really awkward and heavy, but still.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's awesome. So not only are you dirt biking, like you mentioned, mountain biking. How long have you been mountain biking for?
Actually, not that long.
Okay.
I did a little bit before I actually started dirt biking. Living in North Van, of course, we had Mount Frome. It was about a 10-15 minute pedal from my house. So I got into it for a little bit, but just with work, it was really hard to juggle at the time. And so I gave it up and then started dirt biking. So I just got back into it last year for the first time in probably 6 or 7 years. So yeah, April last year was when I bought my first mountain bike again.
Okay. It looks like you're professional at it. Like you look so natural on it.
I don't know about that. The trees would say differently since I've ran into a few trees lately.
I like to call those dragons, the trees. Wood dragons, snow dragons. They're popping up everywhere. We just gotta slay them.
Well, they just come out of nowhere, Right. What are you supposed to do?
I feel you. Do you find that with mountain biking, can translate into enduro riding and
Absolutely. Yes.
vice versa? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So I will definitely say my technical skills have definitely gotten a lot better, as well as downhill riding. I mean, I've noticed it with myself and a few of the other girls that I've ridden with in the past, and like to this day, that we all kind of have a little bit of a downhill complex. Like we don't want to go downhill quickly, especially if there's rocks and roots in the way. You know, we kind of get into our headspace a little bit that, you know, it's intimidating. So I found as soon as I started mountain biking, that fear kind of went away because you hit these things with, you know, tires that are, you know, 2.5 inches wide. So you actually realize that, you know, it's kind of okay to do these things. So I will definitely say for downhill riding, huge improvement on the dirt bike. A lot of the other skills transfer over, balance, core. You do have to have a good core to ride a dirt bike and a mountain bike. So yeah, just between those two, like, I mean, that was probably the biggest benefit for me, and it's good cross training, like on days where if you don't have a lot of time, or, you know, it's a little bit too warm, like right now to moto, it's incredibly hot. Like, but if you're, you know, mountain biking, if you have a chance to shuttle with a truck, you can do a couple of laps and it's a little less, you know, like heat exhausting, I guess I could say. But yeah, so it's definitely really, really fantastic cross training.
Cool. I mean, I hear about that a lot, but it's I've never actually asked anyone, so it's really cool that hearing it from you, and I can see it like from your riding, how you can apply those downhill skills to your enduro riding. And
Absolutely.
I've heard this, that you're incredibly fast.
Oh my gosh. I try.
Yes, that's what I heard. So, I mean,
Oh,
obviously, you know, it's all I don't know if counterintuitive is the right word, but it all balanced out. Like you said, it has benefits on both ends.
absolutely. Yeah. And definitely the balance. Like, I mean, enduro, you have to use your balance skills a lot. So with downhill, you know, you come into sections a little bit slower because you don't have a motor to, you know, kind of push yourself. So you are more focused on balancing and hitting that line correctly. So yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, so back to dirt biking. Give us the details on your bike. What are you riding?
So right now I'm on a KTM 250XC. I've been riding that for about 10 months now, and it's full, almost completely stock. The only thing that I did have done to it is I did change the suspension. So I did soften it up a little bit, revalve, of course, the forks, and put a softer spring in the back as well, just so that I have a little bit more compression. So when I sit on the bike, it actually feels like it's a little bit lower and it's just a little bit softer. I weigh about 145 pounds. So for me, you know, a stock stiff suspension bike, they're made for guys who are, you know, 185 pounds plus. So I did definitely change the suspension. But other than that, everything's completely stock. I don't like to change too many things on the bike, just because if you kind of have to ride the bike first to see how it is, and then slowly start changing components. And you start with your suspension, and then, you know, putting your tires on, and then kind of going from there just to see if there's anything else that will help improve your riding. Bikes these days are kind of, you know, set up so well for enduro. Like if you get a full enduro bike, that it doesn't really require a lot of changes. I mean, obviously like skid plate, rad guards, hand guards, and things like that. And then another benefit too for us short ladies is a shorter seat. So that's the only other modification I have. Is it's just a KTM stock shorter seat. It's about an inch shorter, so I can at least stand on my tippy toes on both sides of the bike.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is helpful, right? And that was actually
Yes.
my next question. Any modifications?
Yeah.
What about, what's one bike accessory that you cannot ride without?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, a skid plate, definitely. I don't think I
Okay.
could ever be without a skid plate, especially if you run linkage. You know, it stops you from getting hooked up on things, and you can just slide over things a little bit easier.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. What about any dirt bike heroes? Do you have anyone that you follow that you're just like blown away with their riding? It's a huge influence on you.
Um, There's obviously so many phenomenal riders these days. I do tend, it's a little bit of a balance. Like I follow both male and female. Obviously, Graham Jarvis, Manny Lettenbichler, like there's quite a few riders that I feel like I can relate to a little bit. And they just have so much, they just put so much work and time into riding. And that's something that I really look up to because it's not something that just came to them. It's, they've actually put in the time as they may have a natural, talent to riding, but you can see them, putting in the time all day, every day. And then for women, so Sandra Gomez, she's a phenomenal rider. And I remember the first time watching her on Erzberg, and I was just completely blown away because it was one of the first times that I actually saw a female like enduro rider at Erzberg. And, there had been some in the past, but she actually made it so far in the course, which it just blew my mind. So yeah, definitely those top three.
Awesome. Cool. What about your dirt bike gang? Do you have a crew that you go out riding with often?
I do. I have actually, it's a really big variety of people. I try to mix things up. Like, I find that if I focus too much on trying to like get into a race pace, riding a lot of the harder techie stuff, it kind of takes the fun out of it for me. So I do have, a couple of different groups, and I love to go out with a couple of beginner girls as well to see if I can, at least help them, come into the sport. And I love seeing the sport grow. So that's super fun. But I definitely have a few core people that I tend to ride with more than not. So I'm sure Sean Watson, so he's definitely out there with us almost every weekend whenever he can get out with us. And yeah, there's a few other guys locally that I try to get out with when I can.
Cool. Sean, he's so awesome. Such a rad guy.
Oh yeah, he does so much for us.
Yes, totally.
That includes picking up our bikes at times.
Yes, absolutely. Where do you usually ride?
Closest is actually McNutt for me. So I do tend to ride there probably, 9 out of 10 times, just because it's about half of an hour to 35 minutes from my house, whereas Vedder or Squamish Cat Lake area, that can be anywhere from over an hour to an hour and 45 minutes. So definitely McNutt, and I find that it's got a good variety of some flowy trails and some more technical and some techie flow trails as well. It's a good mix of everything.
Yes, absolutely. Would you compare Cat Lake to McNutt?
It is very similar, yes, in ways. I do find that Cat Lake is a lot more technical. There's it's shorter trails. Like McNutt, I find that it's such a big mountain. There's so many trails there. It's like you can go from, flowy sections into really technical sections, where I found Cat Lake, it's a lot more technical. Like you have some of the lower trails that are, your blue trails that you're coming into at Cat Lake is what, I'm trying to think of the comparison because I get more like a green trail, but there's not a lot of green trails at McNutt. I think mostly of them are, blue into the black. Right. But yeah, definitely Cat Lake's, I think, a little bit more technical than McNutt.
Okay, cool. I've done McNutt once.
Oh yeah. How did you enjoy it?
Yeah, no, it was really good. I would say that the trails do seem a bit longer. But mind you, maybe I was just trying to keep up. But it's all good. It was a good time. It was a really good time.
That's awesome. Yeah, McNutt is a lot of fun to ride.
Yes. Awesome. Your favorite style of riding, do you like trail riding or do you like to focus more on like obstacles?
Definitely trail riding. If I had the choice, one over the other, hands down trail riding every day. I do like practicing drills and things, like balancing drills, logs, and things like that, just to work on my technique more so than anything, but to help me with trail riding. So that's, trail riding every day.
Yeah, awesome. I'm just going to scroll up. A few comments came in. I'm just going to see here. Don't mind me. Street Deeker, he says, is this your secret sister, Ange? Is there a similarity? I'm Ilzy. and snowboarding to keep the balance in the winter. Do you snowboard?
I do, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, we don't get a lot of snow in the lower mainland during the winter. It gets very wet and icy in certain sections, certain time of the year. So I try to keep myself busy with, some kind of activity that will help me in certain ways. I mean, you can't obviously cross train in every single way possible, but definitely snowboarding does help with the balance. And it's a lot of fun getting out on the mountains.
For sure.
Yeah.
CB Enduro says, agreed. Cat Lake has a lot more roots and rocks. McNutt is great and close. And close,
Yes.
though.
Yeah.
Lobo 33, ever been to Chadwick, Missouri?
I have not actually. My plan was to travel the US last year, but unfortunately, with all the COVID restrictions, haven't really been able to get out much. But it's definitely on my list of places to visit.
Street Deeker, like single track trail or logging road riding?
Single track for sure.
And then, do you snowmobile?
I do not. I've actually never been on a snowmobile.
What? No.
I know. It's on my bucket list, but
Okay.
with so many different sports and so many different bikes, it can be a lot, especially with maintenance and the cost of having everything and the storage. One day, like I definitely want to get out there and try it, but the opportunity hasn't come up yet.
Yes. Well, we'll have to have you out. And yes, I agree. These sports are not cheap.
Yes, you have to kind of balance it out a little bit.
Yes. Pick or choose.
Yes.
For sure. So have you done any enduro racing?
I have, yes.
Cool.
I did the PNWMA series in 2019. That was the first time ever racing. And I just joined in on the women's amateur class, and it's all across BC. So there's one in Vancouver, and there's a couple, like mostly in the interior. So that was my first season of racing, and I did the whole series. I did every single race.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if you did every single race, like how were you physically? Like, were you sore? Were you mentally exhausted?
Well, I mean, definitely mentally exhausted after the races, more so than physically. I try to stay in as good a shape as I possibly can throughout the riding season, but definitely it can wear on you mentally. And with working full time, it kind of can throw a little bit of a curveball at you because my schedule used to be Tuesday to Saturday, and our races would be on Sunday. So I'd work all week and make sure to do all my bike maintenance or any race prep or anything throughout the week in the evenings, and then drive at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday to, Vernon or, Salmon Arm where all these races are in Kamloops. So you leave, pretty early in the morning, you race, and then you go home, clean up, and then you have one day off and then back to work again. So it definitely can wear on you mentally, and physically, of course, too. But that was definitely more mentally, I'd say. And some of them are weekends back to back to back, and then you do get a little break in between, and some are, spread apart a few weeks.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's intense. That would have
been. It can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But once you make a decision, like I went into the series actually just wanting to do 1 or 2 races just to kind of try it out and see, how I would stack up against some of the other girls and to see what it was all about. Because, you ride enduro and you hear about all these crazy races and, you ride for like 2.5, 3 hours straight and, no breaks or anything like that. And I ended up just loving the atmosphere and all the other women like in our class. It was just so welcoming. It's like all these girls just want to come together and they're just, they're all cheering for each other. It doesn't feel like you're competing harshly against each other. It's like we can still all have, a couple of laughs afterwards and, feel happy about our placements and everything with each other. So.
Oh, that's cool. It's almost like a community within itself, like the racing community, and I'm sure you guys are all like following the circuit in a way.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and like I could see how that would become not addictive. I don't want to use that word, but like something to look forward to. And it's like, okay, well, I did this race. Like, yeah, I want to do the next one. Like, it's kind of like it's fueling that fire in a way.
Oh, absolutely. And you learn so much about yourself while you're doing these races. Like a lot, I learned so much. Like in a short few months, like I feel like my riding went from, you know, an entry like amateur level into like more intermediate, because you're pushing your boundaries a lot more, and everyone else out there is pushing with you. So it's, you get into this environment of people that are just, you're looking to push each other and you're encouraging each other, and just the race family is so fantastic. Like everyone is there to help you. If you get stuck, there's going to be someone behind you who will come along and help pull you out. So the camaraderie is just a different thing to experience.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I just saw there was a question here. CB Enduro, what's your tactic to overcoming your own fears, aka when an obstacle comes along?
Oh, it's a tough one. It depends on the day. I definitely do have my mental blocks when it comes to certain things, and there are definitely days where I've walked away from things and said, not today, because you have to be in a certain place, I find, to do something confidently. And other times you have the skill. Like that's kind of where the problem can come in for me, is like, I know I have the skills to do it, but it's just this, the fear of doing it for the first time. So a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll actually just, stop, take my helmet off, go for a walk, actually look at the obstacle, look at the different lines. Like if there's some rocks or things that you feel like would throw you off, just, pick them up, move them out like on the side of the trail, and, just walk over it, and then do them in sections. Like if you have the ability to do a feature in like a little bit at a time, do the first section and then go back down again and do the next section if you can get up there. Or if you don't feel like you can conquer it all in one day, just do the first little bit and then come back another day and do it again. And you just kind of keep picking away at it until you feel like you can confidently do it. Because I find that if you get over the first section, you're like, oh, I'm okay, I'm fine, like I didn't fall, or you think you can do something a little bit differently or shift your body weight. It's like, it's trial and error at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I love that advice. So like get off your bike and to check it out. Check out the obstacle.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of us just go into it just being like, I'm just going to throw myself into this, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of that. I've done that 100 times where sometimes you don't get the opportunity, or you're riding a new trail for the first time. You come around the corner and there's this big obstacle that you've never seen before. And if you're in a groove, it's great. You can just twist the throttle and just go. You just use your skills and go. Other times, though, if you're, not having a great day, or, we all have off days on the bike, but definitely if you're looking to overcome something, I think the best thing to do is just take a moment, just take it in, and just break it down into steps.
Yeah. Awesome. Redbeard Enduro, was that your approach for museum? He asks.
Yes, actually. So I don't know, some people here might know the museum rock. So at McNutt, it's probably one of the trickier rock obstacles to do. It's got 2 step-ups. It's got a little bit, actually more like 3, because it's got a little baby one, and then you have almost no run-up into the next one, and absolutely none into the next. So I got over my fear just by doing that. I would do a little bit at a time until I got comfortable doing that section, and then I'd go into the next. And you get a feel for your bike and what you need to be doing in that situation, if you need to give it a little bit more throttle, or if you need to use a little bit more clutch. And that's 100%. Yeah, it took me probably, after I built up the confidence to actually try it for the first time, I probably did it 10 times before I actually fully cleared it. And yeah, I just broke it down into little steps.
Cool. Awesome. Fuel to Smoke says good advice. And Street Deeker, your CC won't let you down.
That's right.
For sure. One more question before we go into the next section. Do you find there is a little bit, not a divide, but a bit of a challenge when you're riding with women and men? Do you find that one's more challenging than the other, or vice versa?
Not particularly. I find that I've built a pretty good crew around me with like-minded people. Sometimes there can be some difficulty being a woman riding with other guys. You know, if you're riding at the back of the pack, they tend to treat you a little bit differently at times. But I mean, for me, it's never really been a big issue because it's not that I'm there to prove something, but at the end of the day, it's like I'm riding for myself and I just want to get on my bike and do my best. And if I get invited along to these rides, like I have like I'm stoked. Like I just want to be out there riding and I want to keep pushing my skills. So I don't really find too much of an issue. I mean, sometimes there can be a little bit of friction, especially if you're riding with faster people, and also the same thing if you're riding with a slower crew of people. There can be a little bit of abrasiveness, but for the most part, I haven't really had too many issues.
Awesome. CB Enduro, I just caught this. He asks, have you learned the double blip?
I'm actually working on that right now. It's something that I haven't fully conquered yet, but I had an accidental double blip once, but so I can't say that I've mastered it yet. But yeah, it's definitely a work in progress. It's a lot of clutch control, and you got to spend a good few solid hours practicing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, we can't wait to see that.
Hopefully in the next few weeks. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, let's chat a little bit about off dirt bike events. What do you do to mentally and physically prepare for a big day of riding? Let's say, well, you can talk about the racing, but just for, in general, like a big day of riding, if you know you're going to be riding like a solid day.
Big days definitely start with a good night's sleep. There's nothing like, nothing worse than waking up in the morning when you've had a terrible sleep and you're just not feeling great and you haven't had good food for a couple of days. So definitely a good night of sleep, being hydrated. I drink like a gallon of water every day, just day to day. So being hydrated, having some good food, in the morning beforehand, stretching is a huge thing. I was never really a big stretcher before riding until about 2 years ago. I actually started getting carpal tunnel in my wrist. And of course, going through physiotherapy, and you spend a lot of time, trying to break down all these injuries that you're getting. So for me, you learn that you got to take care of your body. So doing a little bit of stretching, you're mindful of how your body's moving that day. Like, if you have a lingering injury, or if there's something that's feeling a little bit tighter, it's like you kind of get familiar with how your body's moving. So, and that to me that helps me mentally at the end of the day. Like, I feel like I don't get caught up, too much. Like I'm in a rush. I just get on a bike and go. Obviously there are days that happens, but, yeah, that's definitely a big thing, is just being mindful and being open to how you're feeling. And, if you're not feeling great that day, don't be too hard on yourself. It's just, we all have off days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I think definitely you have to take care of your body. Like if you're not taking care of your body before riding, you're not going to have a good time. Right.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. I think we can all agree to that. Butler Casey, 283. It's full commitments. And then CB Enduro says, oh yeah, I need a rock in my backyard.
Don't we all?
Yes, I was just going to say, don't we all? That would be such a great obstacle to keep practicing on.
100%.
Street Deeker, you ever take your bike to the rock climbing spot and show them how it's done?
I haven't yet. I mean, that would actually be pretty epic, but
right.
I mean, those guys are next level climbing things that are like inverted, and that scares me. I'm not too fond of heights, so.
Right, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Okay, I just lost where we were, so just give me a sec. Workout routines. So you talked about stretching. Stretching is like your number one before you ride. But what about workout routines? Do you have something that helps you with riding?
Yes. I mean, I personally do CrossFit 4 or 5 times a week. Any kind of weightlifting that's been worked into like my, daily routine. Not everybody can do CrossFit, or not everyone wants to do CrossFit. And I feel like the biggest movements I found that kind of helped me with my workouts and like getting comfortable on the bike and that kind of crossing over was weight training. So doing weight training and endurance weight training. So endurance weight training is a little bit different in the sense of like you're using a little bit lighter weight, but you are still using weight for a longer period of time. So whether you do that for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour at a time, I found that with trail riding and like enduro, it's a lot of it is just conditioning. Like you don't physically need to be very strong. You just have to be, your cardio has to be good, but you have to be good under load. So I did find that doing a lot of like deadlifting, push press, squats and things like that to have nice strong core and strong legs, strong upper body, and just using that under load for a longer period of time, it actually does help, because when you're riding for 2 or 3 hours at a time, your muscles are used to doing that work for right. You know, a longer time.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely, weight training.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a question. How do you fit all of this into your schedule with like working full time?
I don't know. It's definitely tough certain days. It can be very exhausting. And I mean, working from 9 till 5 every day, I go to the gym. Like one of the best things that I love about CrossFit for this reason is the classes, because you go and you schedule in for like sign up for a class. It's from 5:15 till 6:15 every day. So it's like, I know I'm going to get my workout done in that hour. So I do have to plan my days a little bit, especially with the dogs. I have 2 dogs. My other guy, Kobe's around here somewhere. So between, you know, them and running errands and bikes, you know, maintenance, a lot of it just comes down to scheduling, and taking mental days. I have to take mental days sometimes, because it can get very, very overwhelming. It's like sometimes it just feels like it's nonstop, go, go, go every single day. But yeah, it can be tough sometimes, but you make time for the things that you love.
Absolutely.
I'm a true believer in that.
Cool. Red Beard Enduro asks, are you sponsored? And if so, how did that come to be?
Yes, I do have a few sponsors. I have suspension sponsor, RMR Suspensions in Abbotsford, Flow Vision Canada for my goggles, Voss helmets for my helmet, Atlas for my neck brace and my chest protector, Garnet USA for my boots. And CSC Enduro, they're another one of my big sponsors, actually they're based down in the United States. I haven't actually had a chance to really ride down any of the races down there since COVID and everything's happened. But it's been a little bit of a mix. So with a lot of sponsorships, with the market as big as it is today and with social media, it is very difficult to get noticed for your riding. So a lot of the times, like I've had very few of my sponsorships that have come from someone actually seeing me and, you know, recognizing my riding and approaching me. Whereas most of my, like, I think out of all of them, there's probably only one that I got approached by. Everybody else I've had to apply for. You have to wait for those applications to come out. So if there's a company that you've been looking to get sponsored by, or you know you love their product and you use their product, and that's the number one thing is you can't just approach a company that you've never used before and be like, hey, can you give me some stuff, or you know I'll represent your brand if you've never even used them, because also sometimes you don't even know if you'll like them. There's, you know, it's a little bit of a balance that way, but you have to put in the work. You have to, you know, use their product. You have to know their product, and, you know, you have to apply for it. You have to work for it. You have to compete against everybody else who's looking for those same sponsorships, and they come in different levels. Like there's, you know, some sponsorships that give you a full, you know, everything, like all your kit for free. Other places will only offer you a certain discount and so on. So it just depends on the level of sponsorship that you can get. But it definitely takes some work, and do your research, and don't apply to places that if you don't use their product, they're not going to look at you and give you the product in the first place. So but anybody can do it. Like, I mean, I started off, I don't have a huge social media following. Like I try to be as loyal and as, you know, as genuine as I can be, so that when people see me on the trail or they see me on social media, it's like I'm the same person. So, you know, all these products that I'm representing, and I'm not just representing them as a brand trying to like promote something. I genuinely love and use our products every single day. So
Absolutely. Awesome.
yeah.
Love it. Okay, let's struggles and pains, because we all go through it, we all experience it. What is one
Yes.
thing that you have struggled with or are currently struggling with when it comes to dirt biking?
With dirt biking, I mean, a lot of it is mental. I talked a bit like about my mental health and some of the struggles that I've been through, over the past few years. And to me, I find that can be the biggest thing that brings me down is if I'm not in a good mental place. If I get on my bike that day, sometimes I can make horrible mistakes, and because my head's not in the game, I'm preoccupied thinking about something else or something that happened earlier in the week or, a few weeks ago, or something that's just kind of clouding over me. So definitely mentally, there are some things that can be draining. And I mean, that can be anything like, some people have family issues or, work issues or financial issues or whatever that may be. So, going through quite a few of those things, in my time and over the last few months, that's probably been the biggest struggle. And then, of course, injuries are always a big setback. And if you have a lingering injury like carpal tunnel, for instance, that can really get to you mentally as well. So, just depending on what you have going on, that's, for me, that injury stuck with me for a long time. I felt like every time I got on the bike that, I was 10 steps behind where I was the week before. And that, kind of just snowballs from there.
Right, right. That was actually my next question, is if you had any injuries that set you back. So with carpal tunnel, you feel like that has set you back a bit.
Yes, definitely. There were quite a few months luckily a lot of it was over the winter, but I was struggling with it probably from June of last year all the way through until like February, March this year, where it was so excruciatingly painful that I would literally be 5 minutes into the ride and I feel like I've been riding for 4 hours. And it would just stay with me. It's one of those injuries that just doesn't, go away. And, you have to nurse it. You can't just, keep pushing it. So for a long time, I wasn't even riding. I didn't even touch my bike. I maybe put 10 hours on my bike in 6 months. And that's something that really set me back. And of course, mentally, I felt like that set me back so much further because I just felt like it wasn't like I was wasting time, but, you get in your head, it's like, I want to keep improving because it's one of those things that you can improve at it every single day. And yeah, so, and there's been a few other ones that, hasn't been as major, but that's definitely been probably the most painful and longest lingering injury.
Right. And when you think about it, we use our hands all the time. So
Yes.
It's not like you can actually like rest it,
No, and yeah, you use your hands every day. And with my job, I do a lot of assembly work too. So I use my hands for work every day. I come home, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're, whatever you do. So you never really get a full break from that. And, you're trying to stay active or fit, then you kind of have to, manipulate some of your workouts to get around that. And yeah, so it can be a bit tough, but as long as you manage, you have to manage them at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. There's a conversation happening here. Street Deeker, backflips not needed to get sponsored flow. Redbeard, Enduro, all those issues are the reason I ride. CB Enduro. Yeah. Being on the saddle is an escape from all the problems. Only sport, in my opinion, that mentally and physically demands all your attention.
And I can definitely 100% agree with that. Like, it is definitely that sport that if I'm also having a really crappy time, going out and riding, I feel so much better. Like, I can go home at the end of the day and it's like, you feel great, you feel refreshed. It's like therapy. Like, sometimes it can be like therapy, but it does also have, the reverse side of if you're not riding so great or feeling great on the bike.
For sure. Throttle therapy at its finest. And then Redbeard Enduro says, preach it, brother.
100%.
All right. How about some wins? So we just talked about struggles and pains. Let's talk about some wins. Is there a year that you're so stoked on, or an event that you're proud of? Maybe it's this year, like tell us some wins.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, there's been quite a few wins over the past few years. I feel like every year is a win with riding because I look back at it like I always try to imagine my future self in a lot of situations where I'm like, am I going to be proud of myself, for all the things that I accomplished this year? And that could be anything. It could be that you got the job that you wanted, or you improved on the bike, or whatever that may be. But definitely, since 2019, I feel like it's just been going up and up and just keeps going up, especially since I started racing and, getting into the community a lot more and, more exposure to, other riders and making friends and just racing in general. Like it completely changed my riding for me. Like I said, I feel like I went from like an amateur rider to a more intermediate level to now into more pro level, like women's expert pro level. And yeah, that whole race series, there were so many ups and downs and obstacles. And of course, wet rained, like we had so many rainy races. I think almost every single one of the PN races, it was raining, and sometimes it was pouring. The salmon arm race, it was completely wet. Everything was muddy. And so of course, coming out of a race like that, you look at it and you feel like you did something, you accomplished something, and you came out, on a high. And I definitely did feel that throughout the whole series, because as your placements, you kind of start doing better and better and better by the end of the year as you're pushing yourself. And there was a couple of us girls in the 2019 series, which was the last one that we could have raced before COVID happened. And we were all kind of neck and neck. So it was a lot of fun. But I ended up with the championship for the women's amateur class by the end of the year. So that for me was a huge high to go from, finishing like 8th or 7th place to finally doing races where you're finishing like 2nd or 3rd or 1st. I unfortunately never got a chance to get a 1st place, but just a lot of consistent 2nd and 3rds by the end of the year. And yeah, there were a couple of races where I would be, off the starting line, in a good, decent position, like 4th or 5th. And Silver Star is probably the biggest highlight for me of a race that I've ever had, where I crashed really early on. I was in like 30th place by the end of it. It was like 30 women in our class. At the sweep behind me helped me pull my bike out of the ditch because I couldn't get it out. My front fender and my wheel were wedged between a tree. And so they helped me pull me back up onto the trail, and I ended up finishing in 3rd place on that race. So for me, like, that was a huge thing to like realize, how I could push myself, to just keep going and keep going and keep going. And then of course the championship by the end of the year with no breakdowns or no issues, touch wood, that isn't the case for future races. But yeah, and I felt like I was riding so well, and my riding improved so much over that year, and I made so many good friends, and that was definitely a huge win for me during that time. And then of course starting to get a few sponsorships and working with Astra and things like that. It's like racing has brought me this whole community of people that has brought so much to my life and so many opportunities, and working with such amazing companies and people. So there's definitely been a lot of wins over the year. I don't think I could mention them all, but those are some big highlights for me.
Wow. Huge highlights. That's
Yes.
amazing. Oh, and how awesome to look back at that and just say like, yeah, I did it,
100%. Yeah. Like it's pretty crazy when you like, yeah, I look back at it sometimes. I'm like, I can't believe I did that whole thing. It's like all the amount of like time and energy and effort that went into that, and the resources, like, you can do it. Like anybody can do it if you put your mind to it. But yeah, it's pretty crazy to look back on.
Oh, awesome. Oh, that makes me so happy. Love it. What is one thing you plan on doing this dirt bike season that you didn't get to last season?
Well, that's definitely riding, just
Okay.
getting out and riding. Because last year, like I said, with injuries, it was definitely a tough go for me for a few months. And So definitely just getting out on the bike and focusing on more technique. And, you know, for me, I feel like that's been the one thing that I haven't had a chance to do because, you know, since racing and just getting out riding, and it's the one thing that I really want to work on a little bit more is just more technical training and, you know, doing those obstacles and, you know, doing them confidently and, you know, with a good technique. Because a lot of the times I'm sure you know how it can be. Like if you just come up to something, you just wing it and you kind of go for it and you don't really learn how to do something properly. So definitely that will be my main focus for, I'd say, the next few months. And then of course we have our race season that was just announced that it's starting back up in September again. So we'll hopefully get a chance to ride a few races.
I was just going to ask. Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yay.
So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
it's been
for
too
sure.
long.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple more questions here before we shut it down. Would you say you put a lot of pressure on yourself when it comes to like getting the shot or when it comes to your sponsors?
I would say not really, actually. Like social media to me is not a big priority. I mean, obviously I want to try and do the best I can, you know, but I don't want to pretend to be someone that I'm not. Like I don't want to, you know, be a, you know, posing and, you know, posting all these pictures, you know, if that's not really what I'm doing. Like for me, I just go out with the intention of, you know, riding. And if the shot comes along, that's, you know, that's awesome. And of course, sometimes if you want to do a cool feature, it's cool to kind of do it over and over again until you get a cool shot or a video of it. But I definitely try not to put a lot of pressure on myself with that because I feel like you can get sucked into it a little bit too quickly. You know, you're always, I'm one of those people where I'm constantly trying to improve on myself. And I feel like that to me is just a negative thing. Like social media is a phenomenal thing. Like you can gain so much just from that and the community that comes along with it. But yeah, definitely pressure off when it comes to like footage and stuff like that. That's, you know, not the last thing on my list, but definitely the riding comes first and, you know, helping other people. So I'd rather help someone else and take pictures of someone else before the camera comes out for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's cool. I respect that for sure. What would you whisper in the ear of young Chrisma who was just getting into the sport?
Oh, well, there's probably a few things. Definitely, I would definitely say not to be so hard on myself. 'Cause as we all can be, we're our own worst critics. I did put a lot of pressure on myself in the first few years because you see everybody else doing so well, and you know, you see some other, you know, women or, you know, guys who've been riding for 10, 15 years and you go, wow, like look at that cool obstacle that they're doing. Like, why can't I do that yet? So like for me, it would definitely be to, you know, be a little bit less hard on myself. That would definitely be probably the number one thing. And then just to have fun. Like, you know, you can take dirt biking so seriously and it can become a job, or you can just go out and have fun with it.
Yeah, 100%. Cool.
Yeah.
Any advice you would like to give to women who are getting into the sport?
Yeah, I mean, definitely if you can find a good core group of people to ride with, like whether that's women or, you know, guys or other people who are just learning to ride, like reach out. Like if you have groups in your community, like there's so many moto groups today. I mean, there's Braap babes, there's just reach out and, you know, go check out a few, like with social media, it's so great because you can, you know, reach out to all these people and just see if there's anybody in your area, you know, to kind of get out and get familiar with. And even if you go on one ride with them or two rides or however many you guys become best friends, like it's just getting out there and exposing yourself and getting familiar. The other thing too is like getting familiar with your bike. Like I do all of my bike maintenance myself. Like you know, it's been a while since the last time I had to ask anybody to really help me or to do something for me. I change my tires, bearings, you name it, everything. So definitely getting familiar with your bikes. I mean, that also helps you on the trail because you understand how your bike works. You understand when things break, you know how to fix them. And yeah, so those are definitely like probably two two big ones. And, you know, getting your bike set up is kind of goes into that as well, I'd say. Getting your suspension done. Like I mean, there's a lot of women out there. I know they're riding stock bikes, and it is a bit of an expensive thing to do. But if you can afford it, or at least, you know, save up some money, if it's like the one thing that you do to your bike is getting your bike set up for yourself, getting it set up for your height and for your weight, it will completely make the world a difference on the trail.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to talk about the doing your own maintenance. I actually have a question from Katie. She asks, how did you learn to work on your own bike? And did someone teach you, or is it YouTube?
Oh, it's a little bit of a mix of everything. I've mostly learned as problems like have come up, you know, when something breaks, you're like, well, now how do I fix this? And I've been lucky enough that I've had quite a few people in the industry who's helped me, or at least guide me in the right direction, or offered to help me to do it the first time to show me how I can do it for the next time. There's a few of the guys at the local shop, like if you just go in and ask, there's always someone there who's happy to help. And then YouTube has been my next best friend. YouTube can teach us so much, and I'm actually in the process of starting to do a little bit of a YouTube channel to just go over basic bike maintenance and like understanding how your bike works and what all the components are. Because when I started riding, I didn't even know what a carburetor was, or what a carburetor did, or how it worked. And you know, so I want to start getting into that a little bit more to like educate, because the more you educate yourself, you know, the better. Like it's yeah, YouTube is a phenomenal tool. So there's so many hundreds of videos on almost anything you can think of. And if you can't find the help online, there's forums, or you can always go and ask somebody. And I mean, I don't know everything, but I do have a little bit of knowledge of bikes. So if there's anybody ever that needs any help or anything, I've helped a few other of my friends, you know, get some work done, or at least show them how to do something. So I'm happy to help whenever I can.
That's so cool. I like to call it, YouTubeology.
100%. I love that reference.
I absolutely love that that's something that you're going to start doing. You know, like, I think you'd be so successful with that.
Thank you.
I'm rooting for you. I think that would be so great. I would definitely be watching all the time.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah. Like there's a lot of guys posting videos, and like, no offense to the guys out there, but sometimes they're either mansplaining something or they're not explaining anything. And it's just like, they show you something and then they show you the finished product. And it's like, well, how did you get from A to B? Like, I'm not really sure. Or you start looking at manuals. So anyway, yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, we're gonna quickly wrap this up. A quote you live by.
Well, I mean, I said this in my Astra feature, is every challenge is just another opportunity to better yourself. And I'm a true believer in that. It's just, you know, whatever you're faced with, you have the opportunity to make something beautiful out of it, you know, and sometimes you are faced with beautiful opportunities. So I think, you know, that's one thing. It's, you got to turn your challenges into an opportunity, or, you know, make something of it.
For sure. Love it.
Yeah.
Where can we follow you as an athlete?
Well, I have my Instagram page. That's my main like public social profile. So Enduro Exma. So a lot of people have actually asked me about this. Enduro Exma literally just stands for Enduro Chrisma. Exma is just short for Chrisma. So some confusion there, but so that's my main profile. And then as I mentioned, my YouTube is up and like running. I do have one video that I just uploaded a few days ago for some mountain bike mooses installed, but in the coming weeks there'll be more stuff on maintenance, but I'll keep you guys posted on whenever that stuff goes up.
Whoop whoop. And is your YouTube Chrisma Wortley, or is it Enduro Exma?
It's Enduro Exma. So you can just search Enduro Exma, or the link is in my bio on my Instagram page as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have 5 questions. This is quick, one word, just pick or choose. Okay. Weekend warrior or weekday slayer?
Weekday Slayer.
Regular clutch or recluse clutch?
Regular clutch. Not even a question.
Two-stroke or four-stroke?
Two-stroke.
Static log hops or bunny hop logs?
Bunny hop logs.
Okay. Hill climb or downhill?
Downhill.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of our interview. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I loved hearing your story and getting to know you more as an athlete and your background. So cool.
Well, thank
So
you so
awesome.
much. Like, I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's been such a pleasure talking with you. And, you know, I didn't really get a chance to get to know you a little bit better, but, you know, absolutely love what you're doing, and, you know, reaching out to so many amazing athletes that we have, you know, in the industry, and getting a chance to actually get a little bit more insight. So I love what you're
Absolutely.
doing.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Well, and again, you know, I've had a lot of people reach out to me saying they wanted to hear from you. So, you know, just so you know, you are impacting, you are influencing, you are inspiring other women. And thank you. Thank you so much for
Oh.
that.
Well, I really appreciate that, guys. Like, you know, that means a lot to me that, you know, if I can make a difference to somebody, or, you know, inspire somebody to try something new, or, you know, just to go get out and get there. So that warms my heart a lot. So
Of course,
yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
I just had Alexis. She says, "Great interview. Thank you for sharing your story." And Redbeard, sick interview. And Street Deeker, good
Thanks,
show.
guys.
Woo!
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. And thank you so much to you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it so much. And we are 8:05, so we're going to get out of here. Enjoy your night, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye, Chrisma.
Bye. See you later.
Bye.